Golden Blue Dude here with you again. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I make videos every single day, sometimes multiple videos, depending on how active the day is or what kind of mood I'm in. So if you're a college football fan, hit that like and subscribe button. I'm sure there's at least one video you will enjoy. So over the weekend, I learned a hard lesson. I actually broke one of my own rules, and that is putting out the right story and not just trying to get a story out the fast. The sources were telling me something, I put it out. I ended up falling flat on my face because it turned out to be not true. Lesson learned, moving on. So now I want to talk about what the preseason top 25 could look like without the Big Ten or the Pac-12. So the coaches poll has already come out. I'm not sure about the AP top 25. I haven't seen anything. So I'm going by the coaches poll. So I'm going to put up the coaches poll up for you. And you see we got to get rid of Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Wisconsin, Michigan, USC, Minnesota, Utah, and Iowa. So that's going to leave us with 9 spots. So let's shrink the rest of those, and that'll make our top 16, and we'll have to fill 9 spots. So the top 16 teams would be number 1, Clemson, 2, Alabama, 3, Georgia, 4, LSU, 5, Oklahoma, 6, Florida, 7, Notre Dame, 8, Auburn, 9, Texas A&M, 10, Texas, 11, Oklahoma State, 12, North Carolina, 13, UCF, 14, Cincinnati, 15, Virginia Tech, and 16, Iowa State. So we're going to fill in number 17 through number 25 and just see what our top 25 would look like if we have to take out the Big Ten and the Pac-12. So let's start out from the bottom and go up to number 17, all right? So number 25, I'm going to say Baylor. I don't think they're going to finish 25 just because of their coaching situation. Matt Rule is gone, and if you don't think that's a big deal, go check out what he did at Temple, and then after he left, and then what he brought Baylor back from. So that is going to be a big deal. But I do think they have enough talent to at least make an appearance in the top 25. I just don't think they'll stay in the top 25. They do have Charlie Brewer coming back, and I do think he is a top 3 or 4 quarterback in the Big 12. And they do have a lot of experience coming back on both sides of the ball. So Baylor has the talent and the experience. My biggest question is the head coach. Number 24, Mississippi State. Mississippi State is a tricky one because they looked good and they looked bad. So it's hard to tell how they're going to do. I mean, look at that Egg Bowl. It took a penalty for them to pull out that win, but they did pull out the win. They do have Kylan Hill, running back. He had 1,350 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns. And we can't forget about Mike Leach being the head coach. So I think the offense will be much better. And I do think KJ Costello, the transfer from Stanford, I think he will get the nod at quarterback. And you can't forget about Garrett Schrader, though, because he is a nice-looking dual-threat quarterback. He threw for 1,170 yards, but he also rushed for 587 yards with 6 touchdowns. So he is a nice little dual-threat quarterback. So Mike Leach has some things he can play with. Mississippi State, number 24. Number 23 is going to be Navy. Navy is just a very, very consistent team. They usually average around 4,000 yards rushing a game. They have that triple option. They do lose their top running back, Malcolm Perry, but they do get Perry Olsen, and the rest of the backs, their experience, and they'll service their usual services, and they'll be a decent team, and I think they'll finish in the top 25. I have Navy at number 23. Then Memphis, I have them at 22, but there's a lot of question marks at Memphis. First-year head coach Ryan Silverfield. That's the biggest concern I have for Memphis. Can they keep up the offensive output that they had last year? So Memphis at 22, but a big question mark around Memphis. Number 21 is Tennessee. But which Tennessee will show up? Will they be the Tennessee that lost to Georgia State, or will they be the Tennessee that finished the season on a 6-game winning streak? I don't know. And that all depends on the quarterback situation. They have Jarrett Garantana, and he can be very good, but very bad. But behind him is Brian Maurer, and he had some good games as well. It's just Tennessee better hope that their top-notch recruiting kicks in immediately. And if it does, Tennessee will be a solid top 25 team. Number 20 is Kentucky. And those two teams are pretty close together. They are fighting it out for the third place in the SEC. Kentucky, they also have questions at quarterback. They do have running back Asim Rose, 826 yards rushing with 6 touchdowns. So not great numbers, but he will get more experience. But what about the wide receivers? We don't know about the wide receiver situation, but their offensive line should be in good shape. They have 4 of their 5 offensive linemen coming back, and they were 4th in rushing last year, so I think they'll be okay. Kentucky at number 20, and then number 19 is Appalachian State. Don't underestimate Appalachian State. Their offensive line is very, very good. Last year, they were 13th in sacks allowed. Now, their leading rusher is gone, but Marcus Williams will be back. He had 652 yards. So, I think Appalachian State has enough coming back to be a decent team. Then we have number 18, Louisville. Louisville could be a very dangerous team in the ACC. They could end up playing for the ACC championship against Clemson. It just depends on how the other teams do. Notre Dame's in there, Miami's in there, North Carolina's in there. So they can threaten, but there's no divisions, so they don't have to worry about having to beat Clemson for the division to get to the ACC championship. So watch out for Louisville. They have their leading rusher, Javian Hawkins, coming back. He had 1,525 yards with 22 touchdowns. And then Michael Cunningham, an underrated quarterback. He threw for 2,065 yards and 22 touchdowns. So they definitely have the offense. And people forget they doubled their points from 2018 to 2019 from 230 points to like 420 points. It was complete different offense, great offense, scoring points. I think they'll be able to keep that up and challenge Miami, North Carolina, and Notre Dame for that second spot. So number 17 brings me to who I was talking about with Louisville, Miami. I was actually floored that Miami wasn't in the original top 25. They're going to have a great defense as usual. The questions are always at offense, and I think the offense will be much better this year. I know Tate Martell, he probably will see some playing time, but really keep your eye out for Derek King. I think he could be a Heisman Trophy contender this year. He is a awesome dual threat quarterback, and they do have tight end Braven Jordan and running back Cameron Harris coming back. So he has a lot of weapons and a lot of tools around him, and I expect Miami to definitely be in the conversation to contend for the ACC championship. It's either going to be Miami, North Carolina, or Notre Dame to play Clemson in the ACC championship, and I think it all depends on how that Notre Dame-Clemson game goes and the Miami and North Carolina game goes. I don't like Miami going to Clemson. That was a tough draw for Miami, so that does hurt them a bit, and that's why I had them a little bit lower in the pecking order. But if they can survive that game without getting blown out, then they will remain in the conversation. So that's my top 25 preseason without the Big Ten or the Pac-12. That's all I got for you for this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next video.